Commissioner, welcome to the program here. Let's start with the confusion over the county budget. You laid out a budget close to close the $275 million shortfall. Judge Hidalgo says the money is not there to do that. The budget office says no comment right now, reportedly. What's the truth?
The truth is, we now have a balanced budget, zero deficit. We have protected all core services. There will be minimal impact to any forward-facing services the county offers the people. And we did it without having to go to the voters to ask them to raise their taxes further. And making sure we did this was incredibly important to me because I grew up check to check. And so as somebody who has been entrusted by the people to represent them, my team and I were deeply committed to working with our budget office, all the court offices who wanted to lean in, as well as the 70+ Harris County departments. So we went through the budget to find smart strategic savings to better align expenses with revenue sources. And I'm happy to go through examples, but we rolled up our sleeves, we got it done, and most importantly, we did it in a way that protects the key priorities of the people of Harris County that have been very clear. Public safety, public infrastructure, public health, as well as disaster response and readiness.
Walk us through this. Where did you find $275 million in savings? Is it not filling vacant positions or what?
Sure. So we can send you a chart that will probably help everyone visualize and see where all, and there's on my social media, I have put out the full plan, but there's different ways. So in one part, for example, we did a very targeted, thoughtful hiring freeze, and that was 25 million approximately. Then vacancy control. If you look at all of Harris County, there's over 2,000 vacancies. Some of these vacancies have been open for months, some over 6 months, and the work has continued. We're not targeting the thousands of vacancies, instead just 110 approximately, and that will give us 11 million in vacancy savings through this vacancy policy. In terms of addition, I used to be a COO of a national nonprofit, and so finding strategic savings and streamlining is something that fires me up. So for example, in terms of technology, we have a huge county, third largest county in the United States.
Sure.
We have approximately 20,000 people who work at the county. Purchasing of laptops and other technology equipment, streamlining the purchasing so that we get volume discounts. For example, software licenses as well, fleet purchases. I have a 2015 vehicle at home. As long as it's safe and reliable, we can again streamline. And so just being very thoughtful about these sort of internal resources that don't affect the public-facing services. And we can send a full breakdown, but the executive summary is that we were able to close the deficit in a way that protected all core services, minimal impact to forward-facing, and did it with, for example, historic investments such as pay parity for our law enforcement officers and setting aside funds for pay equity for all Harris County employees.
And to make sure I'm clear, you say forward-facing, the citizens won't notice any changes to county services?
Minimal, if any. So there's been a lot of misinformation. Happy to go through that, but our libraries are going to stay open. There will still be mobile clinics. There's still going to be vaccines. There's still going to be all the things that the hardworking men and women of Harris County rely on Harris County to provide.
And then the other big question too is that long-awaited pay raise for law enforcement. Will Harris County law enforcement get the pay raise?
Yes, I was proud to vote in favor of this pay parity and proud to champion it. And here's why, Jason. The truth of the matter is Harris County was already behind in what we were paying our sheriff's office deputies as well as our constables when you compared us to surrounding jurisdictions, cities and counties in and around Harris County. We were already behind. We had hundreds of vacancies in our law enforcement agencies that we couldn't fill. Now, fast forward, when the HPD and Mayor Whitmire increased the salaries 36.5% over the next 5 years for HPD, now we were even more behind. And HPD had this spring approximately 1,200 vacancies. You can't fault someone who's providing for their family. Of course, they're going to go to where they can make 40 or 40+% more. And so we took decisive action. It was the only responsible thing to do, because when we have more people in the unincorporated Harris County than in the city of Houston, and when you call 911, you want someone to show up. You do not want response times to go up because we have fewer officers. So we were facing a potential mass exodus. I didn't want to hemorrhage law enforcement officers, and especially the experience that these officers have, the amount we've invested in their training. And as somebody, I'm a mom of 3 little girls, and I've been the victim of crime several times. So this was one of those investments that, to me, we needed to take decisive action to make sure that we were keeping our law enforcement officers so that we can make Harris County an even safer place.
And Commissioner, besides finding the savings that you found in the budget there too, property taxes are still going up 2 cents for every $100. Is that what the commissioners will be voting on come Thursday?
So we have different pieces of the general fund tax rate, Harris Health, Harris County Flood Control District, and then the port as well. And so each one is separate, and we're happy to provide a breakdown so the viewers can visualize that as well. But the bottom line is that some colleagues wanted to go to the voters to further raise their taxes to pay for these things. And instead, my approach was, no, we're going to go scour each line of the budget of these 70 plus departments, and we're going to find ways to streamline. And again, whether it was through sales of property, putting assets to work immediately so we can invest. We're going to be able to find some savings in reducing jail outsourcing because of some strategic investments we've been able to make in the district attorney's office, for example. Trials are up approximately 30% in terms of being more effective and efficient in administering justice, giving victims their days in court, giving defendants. So there's a multitude of both investments that we're seeing the return on the investment, as well as strategic savings, as well as streamlining, matching certain expenses to a more appropriate revenue source. So for example, food permits, we can pay for those expenses out of the food permit fees. And so better aligning those, and so that it's not in the general fund, it's in the appropriate fire code fund, permit fund. So it was really countless hours of hard work. But to me, that's what the people deserve, right? Leaders who are going to dive in and solve problems and do it in a way that's the best stewards of taxpayer resources.
Yeah, it sounds like it took a minute there, but you just mentioned 2 other things that I hadn't seen yet. I know you said you can offer a visualization here of some of the cuts, but also are some of the cuts selling surplus county property and other changes in the DA's office?
So there was investments in the DA's office previously,
Yeah.
this past spring, that have led to improved, basically. Now we anticipate by Thanksgiving, we will be able to end one of the 3 contracts that we have for jail outsourcing, given the challenges we have in our jail. For instance, to the point of property, yes, for example, we will have 18 million by the sale of one piece of property the Harris County owns. We have a multitude of properties, and to me, if they're not being utilized, we need to put those assets to work for people. If we have a piece of land we're not using, let us sell it and invest that money in something that will enhance public safety, public health, infrastructure, et cetera, these key priorities. And on that point, I just want to thank, there was thousands of individuals who came to our budget town halls, who did our online survey that we partnered with the Kinder Institute at Rice University, who came to Commissioner's Court, who have come to the myriad of public meetings we have had in the community to express their priorities. And, our budget is our budget, right? It's our taxpayer dollars. We're all working hard every day to support our families. And I want to make sure that we have a budget that reflects Harris County residents' priorities, which
And to
I'm
make
very
sure
proud to report this one does.
Yeah, it sounds like you really took a microscope to that. But to make sure I'm clear, the 2 cents property tax increase that commissioners will be voting on Thursday, that it will be spread apart across Harris Health, the flood control, the Port of Houston, all that. Is that 2 cents going to be for all of them?
We can provide a visual breakdown because there's quite a bit of nuance. So for example, for the general fund, my position, I can't speak for my colleagues, but that will be the no new revenue rate. And so there's different choices within each. For Harris Health, I supported the voter approved rate. So there's a lot of nuance, and I think visualizing it would be easier.
Well,
Speaking of, I want all seniors who are watching this, 65 and over, as well as our disabled individuals in Harris County, the exemption for Harris County taxes, we raised it this past year. So it's $320,000 of exemption. And so affordability is something I hear about from my constituents all the time. And so we will be as thoughtful as possible as we employ these exemptions, as well as make sure these investments are, again, in alignment with the community's priorities in best stewardship.
You found millions of dollars in savings, it sounds like. Was there any way to get around not increasing property taxes in Thursday's meeting?
So I would argue that we kept it as low as possible, given everything we were contending with.
Yeah.
And myself and a couple of my colleagues, we held the line because other colleagues wanted to go to actively raise them in a much more substantial way to go back to the voters to raise. So the way I see it is we held the line to the maximum extent to be able to close the deficit, which we did, invest in a historic way in public safety while keeping all of these key priorities moving. And I just, again, appreciate the partnership because it was a highly collaborative, months-long effort.
To find the savings?
To find the savings, to find the most strategic way to invest, working with our law enforcement officials, working with all our departments, working with the community to find these ways. And so,
and it was a bipartisan vote too, which is worth noting as well.
Yes.
Let me ask about another unusual moment that happened in the budget meeting. Judge Hidalgo got up and walked out of the budget meeting, apparently upset that the budget did not fund some early childhood programs. Explain that moment. What was your reaction to that?
So my reaction is, I'm not here for drama. I'm here to deliver, period. In terms of early childhood, that is currently a pilot project funded by federal ARPA funds, one-time funds that we received under the Biden-Harris administration. We have an independent evaluation that is ongoing by third party. We'll get results in 2026, but that is a different matter than working on the general fund. And so there's so much nuance, but as a lawyer and as a former judge, to me, it's like we need to focus on facts and credible evidence and stay laser focused and take things in their order and make sure we have the data and evidence and that we're working deeply with the community to come up with a plan where there is full public support and able to, sustain and scale. But a one-time ARPA investment versus an ongoing general fund program are two very different things. And we will, revisit in 2026 and beyond. But in terms of walking out, what I can tell my constituents is I will show up, I will stay, and I will roll up my sleeves because I think people, especially in this time, they just want to see the government working. And at a time where, I'm still paying off my student loans, like we want to make sure that we have folks who are stewards, who are fighting for us to invest in the way that will maximize, our safety, our health, our infrastructure. And, and here in Harris County, the disaster preparedness is huge. And I'm proud to report that, all of those key investments were preserved.
And on Thursday, the final vote comes for this budget. And let me rephrase that. On Thursday, the final vote comes for this budget here. What do you expect the final vote to be?
We will all have to stay tuned, Jason. I'm
Will it
proud to
pass?
support it. I'm confident it will pass, and I am proud to support it. So,
do you think it'll be 3-2 the way the initial vote was from the budget meeting?
possibly.
All right. Commissioner, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thanks for everything you do for Texas.